Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the moon. I'm your host for this evening, Lawrence Ray, and today I'm joined by just one of my co-hosts, Ricardo Martinez. It's Jerry's birthday today as we film. And today we are interviewing the great Felix Crison, a developer, entrepreneur, investor, and he is notably co-founder and CTO of the largest electronic payments processor in Romania, Netopia. And also was co-founder of Romania's first cryptocurrency exchange, BTKO.io. But yeah, Felix, first off, how are you doing? And is there anything else you want to let people know in a quick introduction to yourself?
Yes, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you listen this podcast. Indeed, so I'm involved in this crypto as well in the traditional payment area, and I've been dealing with crypto-related stuff for probably around 10 years by now. And since about 2015, we also do crypto in a business environment, meaning that we provide services that are based on crypto.
Nice, thank you very much. Well, I'll dig straight into my my first proper question, because I was interested to talk to someone who, it looks like you've done, well, two very big things as it is, right? Like an exchange and a payment processor is pretty huge. But yeah, I guess as someone who's obviously like working currently in electronic payments in Romania, you have quite a unique position or a view because you've got access to a lot more information than most ordinary people would. So I guess how have you seen the payment landscape itself, just the online payment landscape, adapt over the last sort of decade in Romania? Like, is crypto becoming more of a part of the payment world, or just sort of stable? Like, I guess, like how have you seen that adapt over time?
Let me first start from the traditional area, whereby we've seen, even outside of talking of any crypto, we've seen a very big dematerialization of money. So virtually every transaction, or I should say most transactions, at least those done in the urban areas, are electronic transactions anyway. And I will come back to this because this is an important aspect. But now I will go to the crypto part, and I will make a reference to a couple of reports done, I think, by ING, which analyzed, or I probably should say interviewed a bunch of people in various countries around Europe. And their conclusion was that Romania is, I think, that the second country in Europe in terms of crypto awareness. And now, being on the ground here, I'm very well aware that a lot of the people would say that they are aware of crypto and they maybe even have crypto, just because, I don't know, they use one of these neo banks and they offer some crypto like contract for difference or other derivatives, and they would consider that as interacting with crypto. But nevertheless, I think that the public perception is here, although it's not always a positive perception. But at least in terms of people knowing that this thing is here and maybe would have a significant impact in the future, then it's a good thing.
Sure. And I guess like because you say, like, obviously, yeah, there's a good perception, not always positive, obviously, but I figure, I mean, I'm making a big assumption here, but I would have assumed that in Romania and surrounding countries that like the view on crypto is probably slightly more positive than it is actually in like the UK and the US, just a guess from my experience in other countries, like when I've visited Brazil and other European countries.
It is, and this is mainly due to the fact that there were no, I mean, in the bigger countries or in the more developed countries, the negative view tends to come from the top, meaning that there are some people that are in government or in government related institutions, like let's take an SEC or some FINRA or whatever, that would say something which will be construed as being negative towards crypto. In here, at least with some very notable exceptions, the talk about crypto tends to be neutral, meaning that, for instance, the National Bank tells people, we don't have anything against it, just note that it's not an investment instrument and you are very likely to lose money if you put money, because let's face it, at least up until, I would say now, a lot of the retail driven involvement has been driven by potential gains, meaning that I buy now cheap and I sell later more expensive, therefore I make a profit. But yeah, I think that because of the fact that at the top level people tend to be more neutral, then the general view is somehow positive, or leans towards being positive. And of course that there will be people, and it's no surprise that first of all there are people that there is a specific category of people, meaning that if you take the intersection of by age and then by sector in which they work, the older they are and the more they work closer to the financial sector, they tend to have a more negative view. So if for them it's somehow, although they, in theory, they know very well how the fiat money works, they tend to think that because nothing backs any of the crypto that are widely used, they cannot be valued as much as they are, because I don't know why. What's the reasoning behind? But because nothing backs it, it's not real, and it's a Ponzi scheme, and everybody will cry in just a few months and whatnot.
Does the majority of the trading taking place in Romania happen on exchanges like your exchange, or does it happen in like peer-to-peer exchanges like local Bitcoins or Telegram groups?
I'm pretty sure that most of it takes place is on regulated exchanges, and I want to underline that what we operate is not like a full exchange. We merely provide a sort of a brokerage solution for our merchants, because we come from the payment processing side. So we allow our merchants to accept cryptocurrencies in exchange for their goods and services. And if we take this type of service out, and then we take that there would be some peer-to-peer transaction happening, but I would say that 95% happens on exchanges, regulated or less regulated exchanges. Yes, and I can continue. I can continue on that, or maybe if you have other questions, I can stop now. But I would say that due to the fact that a lot of people interact with crypto through exchanges, that creates, even for people that are into crypto, it creates a very different view of what crypto means. And I'm here referring to this custody of assets. And this is something which I cannot outline. And every time I have the chance to talk about it, I try to make people understand that letting somebody else manage your whatever crypto assets you have, managed by somebody else, it's not a good idea. If you really want to, you need liquidity and you want to do a trade, then send from your wallet, do the trade, withdraw to your wallet. Not don't leave funds sitting too much on this exchange.
That's awesome. I was going to ask you that question like right after, because obviously you mentioned about because you mentioned about people having exposure to cryptocurrencies via like these tech banks and things like Revolut, for example.
Yes,
in the UK,
exactly.
where you can purchase.
Exactly.
And I was going to ask whether what your opinion was on that. I suppose from your experience, I guess, and understanding, and I suppose I don't know if you guys keep track of like the wallets that make crypto payments through your processing company, but like, are you finding that the majority of people are using custodial services, or if is that what you're finding? Okay.
Yes, and I would now go to the two biggest problems that we have in providing this type of service for our merchants. The first, now I will go a bit maybe technical, but not really technical, and I would say that because of the nature of all the cryptocurrencies, we are very bound to a specific period of time in which we need a transaction to be performed. And that's why we generate, when we generate Bitcoin addresses, we allow 10 minutes for the payment to be done. This doesn't mean that the payment needs to be confirmed in 10 minutes. We just want to see that the payment is received in this window of 10 minutes. And because of people that are using custodial services and usually withdraw money from the exchange, they cannot fit in that 10-minute window, and this of course causes us a lot of customer support interactions and so on. My guesstimation is that about 50%, so half of the people that interact with our crypto payment service actually use custodial wallets, and because of that they are not able to fit in that 10-minute window. And the second thing that happens, and this is also tend to happen more on the custodial wallets, but it's also a feature of people that have their own wallets, is that people don't really understand what the deal is with these fees that usually the sender pays, or the people that the person that withdraws something from the exchange. The exchange, if you withdraw, I don't know how many, 0.005 Bitcoin, it will take another a fee, and the amount that you actually receive to the receiving withdrawal address, it will be smaller than what you requested. So this is the second biggest problem or customer support reason for contacts from our payment for the users that pay to our merchants.
Gotcha. Okay. So yes, the custody, I suppose, beyond it being your personal view that obviously not your keys, not your crypto kind of thing.
Yes.
That's my kind of personal view as well. But beyond that, obviously the custodial solutions are actually causing an issue, with the actual real-time payments.
Yes.
And that's definitely something as well, because like sometimes if I have something left over in exchange and I want to use it to pay, I'm always like, I've got to wait for like X amount of time, I've got to pay my fee to get it out. It's always just frustrating.
Yes.
So I can completely understand that for sure.
That's a huge issue with Bitrefill as well. A lot of the support tickets we get are for the exact same reasons.
Yes, I imagine that every business that has to deal with cryptocurrency, and because of people, and I venture to guess that it's this feature of people tending to use custodial solutions is not unique to Romania. So I would expect that about 50% of your customer requests are because of these custodial solutions that don't fit in a window, don't take into consideration fees, and I think that's pretty much it. If these two features or these two problems are solved, then everything would work in a much or more or less automatic way.
You said your company offers a variety of crypto-based services for merchants. Do you guys also offer Lightning Network payment processing?
We don't offer it, and it's only a matter of not having demand for it. I mean, crypto Lightning services would require locking some funds into a channel. And so far, based on the requests which we received, which was, I think, maybe once we received in the last 3 years a request for somebody wanted or asking if they can pay with Lightning. Based on the level of requests of interest that we've seen, it doesn't seem to be so popular. And again, it kind of makes sense if you consider the fact that 50% of the people tend to keep their wallets on exchanges or on other custodial wallets. Then it would make sense that they don't know about Lightning and how the Lightning network work and what's good and what's bad about it.
Yeah, I can understand that, I suppose, actually. Yeah, and I guess, because I think this is the thing, I think custodial solutions, whilst I'm personally not a massive fan, I've used them before, obviously, but I guess they're very important, though, because there's a lot of people, a majority probably I'd say of people I've met are used to, okay, my money is in my bank. If I send, if something goes wrong, someone steals it, something, a transaction gets done badly, someone is going to cover me for this. It's fine, you know what I mean? And I don't have to worry about my X amount of money. And that's very reassuring for a lot of people. And for some people, that is the best way. Some people don't want to look after their own money. And I kind of, understand why sometimes. So I guess, I suppose the solution, I suppose the easy solution would be to, remove lower fees or remove fees to take funds out of an exchange or from a custodial wallet, and also to speed up the time to withdraw fees. Right, they're the simple solutions. But I guess, what do you think the solutions are moving forward for pulling people away from those custodial solutions and only using them when they have to?
In the beginning, I said that a lot of the money involving transaction, either being money transfers or payments and related services, have been dematerialized especially in the last 10 years and even before. And this prepared the ground for if you already have an electronic payment solution and you already pay with the phone, it doesn't really matter for you as the person that pays if the money that are being taken from your bank account or from a custodial wallet. So maybe the only way I see this working is if these custodial wallets are somehow integrated, and Lightning Network is a good it's a good example of integration in which you cannot really pay less because the transaction will never propagate, or even if it's propagating, if it's not completed, it will revert after some time. And I believe that in some services or some developments in this area whereby you can make things much more integrated and having more services like LNURL and seamless. In the end, you need to have seamless transactions, and it's true that when you take the burden of people having to guard their keys and remembering passwords and whatnot, and compare it to the maybe easiness of dealing with cards, and wherever you have a problem, you just flip your card and there is a number. Well, if you flip your ledger, there is no number. You cannot call anybody if somebody goes wrong. So people, just because people are inherently lazy, and this is the human nature. Why bother with something if I can obtain the same outcome, not having to do this at all? Because of the human nature, people will always prefer the banks and the custody and somebody else dealing with the keys. The only time when people start realizing that it's important to manage your own keys is if your bank freezes your account because whatever. And these days you see a lot more regulation, especially in the EU, but also in other countries, like banning people do specific types of transactions and requiring people justify their why did you send this money to this business. And this intrusion of the state in the end in the private lives of citizens will have as a result people starting to realize, but do I really need to provide these details to the government? What solutions are there to not be required to do this? And people will say, yeah, but this means that people will hide money and will not pay taxes. And I would say that in this case, maybe the tax system needs to be rearranged and needs to be a new thinking about what taxes should mean or would mean, and how people should interact with the state from the tax point of view. And I'm sure that if people would see benefits coming out of their transparency about money, people would be willing to not hide their money, if that is even the case, which I strongly believe that it's not. I mean, everybody I know that does crypto transactions are much more rigorous about reporting and paying taxes versus a lot of other persons that you read in the newspapers and you see on the news, that they use all kinds of offshore accounts and consulting services in order to bypass these taxes. So, yeah.
Does the majority of people in Romania, do they have bank accounts, or are they primarily unbanked?
They have. I mean, it's probably the unbanked population is less than 20% or somewhere around this figure. There are a lot of bank accounts, there are a lot of cards. Now the other question is, or maybe when we or the national bank or whoever reports this number, maybe they should take out of the reporting 2 transactions per month. Yeah, 1 funding and 1 withdrawal. Because if we take this out, we will find out that maybe it's only half of the people that have that could be considered banked, because the other ones do a single transactions per month, or maybe 2, because one is funding, like they receive their salary, and the second one is withdrawal of their whole amount. And maybe again, this is, if you think about my previous point that I made about government snooping around your bank account and maybe even being able to freeze, maybe there are people that say, why should I let the government or the bank report to the government what I do with my bank account? I will take it in cash, because cash is, for better or worse, untraceable. So maybe this is the reasoning behind of at least a part of those transactions. But anyway, I would venture to guess that out of those that actually have a bank account, a pretty significant chunk of them will only have 2 transactions per month registered to that account.